Hi guys, my name is Melissa, and in today's video we're going to be talking about a topic called working backwards. So, especially when we work backwards, parentheses, we should really keep in mind about parentheses because they can really change our equation if we forget or misinterpret some of them. So parentheses are really important in complex number sentences as they really show us the order of operations and which ones we should prioritize. And so there are laws of parentheses in the order of operations. So we have ordinary parentheses. These ones, they are first priority. Always do those first. Then we have square brackets, which look like this. They're second priority. And then braces are our third priority. So for example, example 1 says find the missing number. So we have 7 times blank divided by 11 times 45 equals 4,095. And so to find the blank, a missing number, we're going to work our way backwards. So blank is going to be 4,095 divided by 45, divided by, we'll just work in order. So divide by 45. Since we divided 11 here, on the other side we're going to multiply 11. And then we're going to divide 7 again. And so 4,095 divided by 45 is going to be 91. So we have 91 times 11 divided by 7. And so that is going to be, we're going to do 91 divided by 7 first. And so that's going to give us 13 times 11, which is 143. And so the missing number is going to be 143. And then we have, at a supermarket sale, 2 more than half of the number of apples were taken out from a box. Later, 2 fewer than half of the remaining numbers of apples were taken out again. If 20 apples were left in the box, how many apples were there at first? And so 2 more than half the, so we're going to look at what happened at the end. So 20 apples were left in the box. And so we start with the blank number of apples. Then 2 more than half were taken out. So we're going to, so 2 more than half of the number of apples were taken out from a box. So we're going to divide by 2 and subtract 2 since 2 more were taken out. So if we reduce it to half and then we take 2 out, that's what we have left right now. And then 2 fewer than half of the remaining number of apples were taken out again. So we're going to do the same thing, but then it's now 2 fewer, so we're going to add 2. And that gives us 20. So now we're going to work our way backwards. So to find the missing number, we're going to do 20 minus 2 times 2 plus 2 plus 2 times 2. And so the missing number is going to be 18 times 2 plus 2 times 2, which is going to be 36 plus 2 times 2. So we have 38 times 2, which gives us 76. So we started with 76 apples. Now let's look at some practice problems. And so it says find the missing number. And we have ordinary parentheses, so those always are our first priority. So we're going to work our way back, so multiply 12. Now we have the parentheses left out, and so since we only have the numbers inside the parentheses left in one side, now we can take the parentheses out technically. And so now inside the parentheses, we're going to do the multiplication first. And so we have, we'll bring this down. So we have 144 equals 12 plus 11 times square, or the missing number. And so 144 minus 12 is going to be 11 times the missing number. 132 equals 11 times the missing number. And so the missing number is going to be 132 divided by 11. And so that is going to be 12. And so our missing number was 12. Now let's look at problem number 2. And so we have an ordinary parentheses, so we're going to first multiply 8 to the other side. And so 1 plus missing number over 7 plus 4 equals 4 over 7 times 8. And so that is going to be 32 over 7. And so 1 plus missing number over 7 is going to be 32 over 7 minus 4, or 28 over 7. And so we can write that as 4 over 7. And so since the denominator is the same, we know that 1 plus the missing number must be equal to 4. So the missing number must be 4 minus 1, which is equal to 3. Now for the next problem, I want you guys to try solving this on your own. So I'll give you guys about 2 minutes to try solving this on your own, and then I'll go over the solution. And so we'll look at the solutions. We'll try looking for the solution. So again, we have ordinary brackets. So we have ordinary brackets here, but then we have our square brackets now. And so again, our ordinary brackets are a first priority, and then we're going to go with our second priority, square brackets. But first, we're going to work backwards. So the color is a bit too light, so let me change to black. So this is going to be 40 times 12, since we moved the 12 to the other side. And so that is going to be 480. Now we're going to move on with our second priority. So we're going to move the second priority to the other side. And so that tells us that the missing number plus 4 equals 480 divided by 8, which is equal to 60. And so our missing number is going to be 60 minus 4, which is 56. Now let's take a look at the next problem. Again, we just have one parentheses, and so 1 plus missing number over 9 plus 3 is going to equal 8 over 9 times 4, which is 32 over 9. So we know that 1 plus missing number over 9 equals 32 over 9 minus 3, or 27 over 9. And so that is going to be 5 over 9. Since the denominator is the same, 1 plus the missing number is 5, so the missing number must be 4. Now we have some practice problems, and so I want you guys to try solving this problem on your own. And yeah, I'll give you guys about 2 minutes, so really try to write out your process so that you can familiarize yourselves with working backwards and you can visually see the processes that you're taking. So I'll give you guys about 2 to 3 minutes, so really just write your process out, and then I'll go over the solution after about 3 minutes. And so it says 6 is first subtracted from a number, so that number is going to be our missing number. You first subtract 6, and then the difference is then multiplied by 6, so we're multiplying the entire difference, so we need to place parentheses. The product is added to 6. Now that is going to be our sum, and lastly the sum is divided by 6. So we also need to place a parentheses and then divide by 6, and the answer is 6. So our first step is going to be to multiply 6. So this is going to be 6 times 6, which is 36. And then this is going to be 36 minus 6, which is 30. And then missing number minus 6 is going to be 30 divided by 6, which is 5. And so our missing number is going to be 5 plus 6, which is 11. And so our missing number is going to be 11. Now let's take a look at problem number 6. Again, I'll be giving you guys about 3 minutes to solve this question, and then I'll go over the solution with you guys. So in problem number 6, a number is added to 6. The sum, so parentheses, since we're multiplying the entire sum, is multiplied by 3. Now the entire thing, so the product, is divided by 8. 8 is then subtracted, and the answer is 1. So first, we're going to add 8 to the other side. So that is going to be 9. Then we're going to multiply 8. So x. So the missing number I just wrote as x. Missing number is x. So x plus 6 times 3, not plus 3, sorry, is going to be 9 times 8, which is 72. And so x plus 6 is going to be 72 divided by 3, which is going to be 24. And so x is going to be 24 minus 6, which is 18. And so the missing number was 18. Now let's take a look at problem 7. David asked his grandfather about his age. His grandfather replied, "You may add my age." So the grandfather's age is the missing number. So we'll denote that as x. And I know that sometimes we do squares, like missing blank squares, but when you solve math problems later on, you're going to learn that you use variables like x. So I'll just write x so that you guys can get used to this. And so you add my age to 42 and divide the sum. So you need parentheses since we're dividing the entire sum by 3. You then subtract 36 from the quotient. Then you multiply the difference. So again, it's the entire thing. So place square brackets. You multiply the difference by 25 and the result will be 100. And so working backwards, we're going to divide 100 by 25. So we're going to get 4. Then we're going to add 36. So that's going to be 4 plus 36, which is 40. And then x plus 42 is going to be 40 times 3, which is 120. And so x is going to be 120 minus 42, which is equal to 78. So he's going to be 78 years old. Now let's look at problem 8. Again, I'll give you guys about 3 minutes to solve problem 8. And so I'll solve problem 8 now. It says ABC Megamart sold 4 sacks, more than half its sacks of rice on the first day of a week. It sold 3 sacks, fewer than half of the remaining sacks of rice on the second day. ABC Megamart ordered another 30 sacks of rice on the third day. It had a total stock of 50 sacks then. How many sacks of rice did ABC Megamart have at first? So the amount that Megamart had at first is going to be X. And so they sold 4 sacks, more than half its sacks of rice on the first day of a week. So we're going to divide by 2, and then we're going to subtract 4. Since we sold 4 sacks more. Since we're selling, we're giving out, so we're losing, and so we're subtracting 4. And then it sold 3 sacks, fewer than half of the remaining sacks of rice on the second day. So this much would be the remaining rice. And so we're going to divide that by 2 and add 3 since it was 3 sacks fewer. So they sold 3 sacks fewer, so in the case of ABC Megamart, they're going to have 3 more. And then ABC Megamart ordered another 30 sacks of rice on the third day. So we're going to add 30. And then that resulted in 50. So now working our way backwards, we're going to subtract 30 to get 20. And then we're going to subtract the 3 as well. So let's just do that in one step. So that is going to be 17. Now, we're going to multiply 2, so that's going to give us 34. And then x divided by 2 is going to equal to 38. And so x would be 38 times 2, which is equal to 76. So that tells us that ABC Megamart had 76 sacks of rice at first. Now we'll move on to the next page. And so an army of ants was migrating. The ants moved 120 grams, less than half of their food on their first trip. On their second trip, they managed to move 100 grams, more than half of the remaining amount of food. They moved 480 grams of food on their third trip. 280 grams of food was still unmoved. How much food did the army of ants have at first? So the amount of food the army had at first is going to be X. So if we start with X, they move 120 grams, less than half of their food. So it's going to be X divided by 2 plus 120, right? And we're doing plus 120 because they moved 120 grams less. And so that means they have 120 grams. So they moved 120 grams less than half of their food. And that is why we're dividing by 2. And that is half, but they moved 120 grams less than half. So we have to add 120 to show that. And then on their second trip, they managed to move 100 grams more than half of the remaining amount of food. And since it says remaining amount of food, we're going to place parentheses. So what's inside the parentheses is from remaining from the first day. And then they managed to move 100 grams more than half. So we're going to do divided by 2 and subtract 100. And then finally, they moved 480 grams on their third trip. And so that is going to equal 280. And so we have x divided by 2 plus 120, close parentheses, divided by 2 equals 280 plus 480 plus 100. And so x divided by 2 plus 120 divided by 2 is going to be 860. Then x divided by 2 plus 120 is going to be 860 times 2, which is 1,720. And so x divided by 2 is going to be 1,720 minus 120. So that is going to be 1,600. And so x is going to be 1,600 times 2, which is 3,200. And so the answer would be 3,200 grams of food initially, at the beginning. Now let's look at problem 10. ABC Telco sold 20 more than half its cell phone inventory in January. It sold 15 more than half of the remaining number of cell phones in February. It had 75 cell phones left in March before any purchase was made. How many cell phones did they carry out first? So the number of cell phones they carried out first is going to be x. Then they sold 20 more than half of its cell phones, so it's going to be divided by 2 minus 20, since they sold 20 more. Then we're going to place parentheses because now they talk about the remaining number of cell phones. And so they sell 15 more than half the remaining. So parentheses and then divide that by 2 and subtract 15. And then that resulted in 75 cell phones being left. Now again, we're going to work our way backwards. So we're going to add 15 and 75, which gives us 90. That gives us 90. And then we're going to multiply 2. So x divided by 2 minus 20 is going to be 180. X divided by 2 is going to be 180 plus 2, so that's 200. And so x is going to be 200 times 2, which is going to be 400. So that tells us that they carried 400 cell phones out first. Now let's move on to problem 11. A subtrahend is the number being subtracted in this subtraction problem. Robert misread the digit 1 in the ones place of the subtrahend, or the number that he's subtracting, is 7, and the digit 7 in the tens place of the subtrahend is 1. The difference in the subtraction then became 222. What would be the actual difference if he had read the numbers correctly? So we're subtracting from a number, x, so we don't know what we're subtracting from, but x minus, so he misread the digit 1 in the ones place of the subtrahend as 7, and the digit 7 in the tens place as 1. So what he did was he saw it as 17 when it was actually 71. So we'll just write out what Robert did, and so that gave him a result of 222. And so x is going to be 222 plus 17, which is going to be 239. And so that is the number that he started with. So now what he has to do is he has to correctly subtract. So 239 minus 71 is going to give us 168. So he should have gotten 168 if he solved correctly. Now let's take a look at problem 12. There were some marbles in a bag. Jeff took half of the marbles out of the bag. He then put one marble back in, and he repeated this process 5 times. There were 3 marbles left in the bag at the end, and how many marbles were there in the bag at first? So I'll give you guys about 3 minutes to kind of go over the problem yourselves, and then after some time I'll go over the solution. So I'll see you guys in about 2 to 3 minutes. And so we're going to go over the solution now. And so the number of marbles in a bag is going to be x. Jeff took half of the marbles out, so he divided by 2, and then he put 1 marble back into the bag. And he repeated this process 5 times. And so that tells us we should multiply by 5, or we can just do this multiple times. And when he repeated this process 5 times, he had 3 marble bags left in the bag. And so what happened was, this is going to be the 5th time he did it. And so if we work backwards, x divided by 2 is 3 minus 1, which is 2, and so x is going to be 4. That was for the 5th time, and so now we're going to look for the 4th time he did it. So in the 4th time, x was, so in this case, he started with 4 in the 4th case, so that means he ended with 4 in the 4th case. So again, x divided by 2 plus 1 is going to be 4. And so x is going to be 4 minus 1 times 2, so that's going to be 6. Now in the 3rd time, we need to get x by x divided by 2 plus 1 equals 6. And so x is going to be 6 minus 1 times 2, so that's going to be 10. And so in a 2nd time, x divided by 2 plus 1 is going to be 10. And so it's going to be 6. And so x is going to be, so it should be 10. I misread the step. So x is going to be 10 minus 1 times 2, so it's going to be 18. And finally, our first time, x divided by 2 plus 1 must be 18. And so x should be 18 minus 1 times 2, which is 17 times 2, so we get 34. So he started with 34 marbles. Now we'll look at the next problem. Allison, Beatrice, and Chloe each had some books. Allison gave Beatrice and Chloe some books that doubled the number of books they had at first. Beatrice then gave some books to Allison and Chloe that doubled the number of books they had. Lastly, Chloe gave Allison and Beatrice some books that doubled the number of books they had. Each of them had 32 books at the end. How many books did each of them have at first? And so we're going to create a table. So we have Allison, Beatrice, and Chloe. And so Allison, Beatrice, and Chloe each had some books. And so at the end, each of them have 32 books. And before that, Allison would have had 16 books, Beatrice 16, and Chloe 64. Because for Beatrice and Allison, the number doubled for them. Right, so the number doubled, and to keep the total number of books the same, Chloe must have gotten that much. Chloe must have given that much. And so Chloe must have had 64. And then before that, Allison must have had 8, Beatrice 56, and Chloe 32, because before that, Beatrice then gave some books to Allison and Chloe that doubled the number of books they had, and then Chloe gave Allison and Beatrice some books that doubled the number of books that they had. And then before that, Allison must have had 52, Beatrice must have had 28, and Chloe 16. Because in the beginning, Allison gives Beatrice and Chloe some books that double the number of books that they have at first. Like for Beatrice and Chloe, it doubled. So 16 to 32 and 28 to 56. So in the beginning, Allison started with 52 books. Beatrice started with 28 books. And Chloe started with 16 books. Now we're going to look at the next page. So a number of commuters were on a bus when it started its journey from the bus station. At the first bus stop, 1/7 of the commuters got off. At the second, 1/6 got off. And at the sixth bus stop, half the number of commuters got off, and the bus was left with only 4 commuters. So how many did we start with? So we're only left with 4, and then half of them get off. So at this point, right before the half gets off, we know that there must have been half more. So 4 times 2 is how much there would have been, so that would be 8. And then it says at the second bus stop, 1/6 of the remaining commuters got off. And so 1/6 got off, and so that means that at the second bus stop, 1/6 get off. So what we did was we had a number x, and we subtracted 1/6 of x, and that resulted in 8. And so we can write that as 6 over 6x minus x, because that will translate to 5x. And so 5x is going to be 8 times 6, which is 48. And so x is going to be 48 over 5. So I'll write the steps out. And so right here we know that we have 8. And at the second bus stop, 1/6 of the remaining commuters got off. So we're going to multiply 8, and well, instead of multiplying 8, we'll just write out what happened. So x is the number of people that were on the second bus stop, that were riding until the second bus stop, and 1/6 of them got off. So they got off, and that left us with 8. And so we're going to look for x there. So rewriting that is going to be 6x minus x equals 8. So 5x equals 48, and x is going to equal to 48 over 5. Now at this point we know we had 48 over 5 people to begin with, because if we know that, then I think I misread the question, so I'm so sorry for the confusion. So up till 4 times 2 equals 8 was correct. And then to 8, we should have multiplied 3 over 2 to get the total number before. And so that would give us 12. And then to 12, we're going to multiply 4 over 3, which gives us 16. And then to 16, we're going to multiply 5 over 4, which is 20. And the reason why we do this is because at the 6th bus stop, half the number of people got off. So at the first, 1/7 got off. At the second, 1/6 got off. So I completely forgot about the part they didn't tell us. So that means at the 3rd bus stop, 1/5 got off. At the 4th bus stop, 1/4 got off. At the 5th bus stop, 1/3 got off. And that is why at the 6th, half got off. So we're multiplying 3 over 2 because we know that at the 5th bus stop, 1/3 got off. So what we're doing basically is we're saying that x minus x over 3 was equal to 8. And so that we can rewrite as 2x over 3 equals 8. And so to get x, we're multiplying 3 over 2. And so we're going to do the same thing in order. And so now we have 20, and so before that we must have had 24. And so the last step we're going to take is where 1/7 people get off. So before 1/7 people got off, we should do 24 times 7 over 6, which gives us 28. So initially there were 28 people to begin with. So I forgot about the part that was cut off. But yeah, we do need to consider that. And for example, when we go from 8 to the next one, what you can think of this is, if we have an initial number x, then we subtracted for the 5th bus stop, 1/3 got off, so 1/3 of x got off, and that was 8. And so we can write that as 2x over 3 equals 8, because this is 3x over 3, and so we can write that as 3x minus x over 3, which is equal to 2x over 3. And of course we can do 8 times 3 equals 20, 8 times 3 equals 2x, so 2x equals 24 and x equals 12. But another way to do this is, because 2x over 3 is 8, we know that 2 over 3 times x is equal to 8, so x is going to equal to 8 times 3 over 2, and that is what we did. And then we have 2 other questions, and I want you guys to solve these on your own to make sure that you really understood how to solve this. So I'll just give you guys the solution to both problems, but again, feel free to pause the video and then only check if your answer is correct with the solution that I'm going to give you right now. So for problem 15, there were 177 bubbles in the first place. At the 10th minute, there was 177 bubbles, and for problem 16, the minimum number is 85 beats. So again, finish solving your problem and then come back to the video to check if your answer was correct or not. And that is it for our video today. Thank you.